Excellent. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. I am Kit Rackley, and I am currently sitting in my shed that I've converted into an office. I'm doing a lot of working from home at the moment. You may hear the pitter patter of the rain on the rooftop. This is partially a solar powered presentation. There's not much sun at the moment, so there's a little bit of renewable energy going into this at the moment. So just to introduce myself, for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Kit Rackley. I'm an ex-high school teacher of geography here in Norfolk for 13 years. I've since had a bit of a career change now, but I still are heavily involved in education through my Geogramblings blog and also as a consultant for the Geographical Association. And I have a little budding geographer as well who's going to help us today, as you'll see very shortly. And that's Theo. Theo is my 5-year-old son, and he's currently in year 1, and he's been using Digimap for Schools, which is also, a good little demonstration of showing that these are accessible to very young. So to give an outline of what we're going to cover today, about mapping a walk. So we can have a look at the basics, and of course the basics, just because they're basic doesn't mean they're not fun. They're a good way of easing into things. This is suitable for all age groups, especially if you're learning Digimap for Schools for the very first time. So we're going to show you a little video of myself and Theo using Digimap for Schools to plan a walk, and what kind of function we use on Digimap for Schools to map it and document it, and so all those kind of tools that we use. And then I'm going to have a little bit, for those of you who are in primary education here, I'm just going to give a few links to some curriculum context, so you're able to apply this specifically to certain requirements that you need. And then the last part of this webinar, I'll then go and look at how you can use the same kind of tools and the same process, but then to use to plan expeditions specifically from the older kids. And I've put secondary there, but it doesn't necessarily have to be secondary students. I know that some of you are probably very aware of some year 4s, 5 or 6s who would be able to do this as well. So obviously that's just a guide there. And then we'll have some time you can fire some questions off to me and Pete, and we'll ask them the best we can. So right, so just to give a little bit of background to this, so this is one of the things that I really was keen to do now that we're all in kind of the current circumstance that we are, is that for one of our isolated walks, our daily one exercise a day, I thought, okay, this is probably the best chance to actually get some geographical skills into my young'un. You can imagine he's the son of a geography teacher, or of a geographer, so I wouldn't miss any opportunity here. So when I thought to myself, rather than my wife and I picking out something and then just having a little jog around to there, why not get Theo, our 5-year-old, to choose something? So, and this is where the ideas come from.
That's it. What I'd like you to do, Theodore, is find a bit of the map where you can see some human features and some physical features.
I see some.
We've definitely got some. We've got some human and physical features around here. Can you point out a human feature for me?
Okay, the busy road.
The busy road, yeah. And something physical?
Those wavy orange lines.
Yeah, they're contour lines. They tell you the shape of the land. Is there anything else there?
Big wood.
Okay. So what we'll do, we'll go for a walk.
And let's do something even trickier.
Oh yeah, what's that?
To see what's half physical and half human.
Oh my goodness. Level up.
We already found big wood.
We'll go for a walk later and take a look, yeah?
Mhm.
Awesome.
Okay.
So we've just started, so car's all the way down there. And we've parked at the X, haven't we, Theodore?
I've done that, and over there.
Okay. So what's the first thing you want to take a picture of?
First thing?
What are we going to go take a picture of?
Bumblebee! Bumblebee!
Yeah.
Taken was the hedge over there.
Okay, and where are we going to next?
We're going to the bridge.
To take a picture of.
The road.
And is that a human feature or a physical feature?
Human.
Right, let's go then.
I already took a picture of the bridge, but not the road underneath.
Okay. So that's where the car was.
We're right there.
Okay, so you want me to put a little, should I put a little cross there then?
Yeah.
So that's where we took the picture of the road, yeah? Alright.
What about you put
That's the
a
car.
parked car then road there?
We'll do that. Okay, cool. Okay, we're kind of at the corner, aren't we?
Yep, we're about right there. We can see
Okay.
Big Wood from there.
So where's Big Wood? Point to it for me.
There.
Okay. Right, so if we put the map here then, yeah, you can put a tick where you think we are then.
Right about there.
Awesome. So if we
Is that-
started here.
Is that exactly?
Pretty much, yeah.
So we're halfway through.
I think so. So if we did all that, and there, so that's pretty much about half. We're probably actually a little bit more than halfway, I reckon. Made it back to the car. High five. Yeah.
That's the moon. I said this is the moon, look.
One more. Perfect. Okay, leave it on that. Right, where's Big Wood? So what I'm going to show you about how to do is how to draw the route that we walked on Digimap here, yeah? Think we can do that?
Yep.
Awesome. So let's do that.
But then
Which one of these do you click if you want to draw a line? Drawing tools, yes, you click on the, that's it. Right, awesome. So
now we
we
just
want,
print.
so we want, is this a line here? Draw a line, there you go. So that one there. So if you click on that one, draw a line.
That one?
Yep, right, so.
The halfway.
Yeah, good, keep going. So now we're here. Signpost.
Signpost?
Yep, and then scroll. Okay, so to measure a line we've already done, is this one right here. See it with the little measuring tape on it? Yeah. And then what you do, you just then tap on our line. There you go. Right. So how far did we walk?
2.3
kilometres. 2.3 kilometres.
track. Browse.
Don't hit too hard.
Browse.
It was after the one with the bridge, wasn't it? So was it this one? I think it was that
No.
one.
Oh, it was that
Okay.
one. That's the picture of
Okay,
the park.
awesome. And open.
Open.
Upload. You got it? Awesome. All right. Click. Right, now where do you want to write it? Use the thing again. Right, what are we going to call that then? Enter.
Right.
The plus, the diamond, the person, the smiley faces, the X. What do you reckon?
Smiley face.
Okay, which smiley face?
you see that Theo had a lot of fun doing that. It's I wouldn't say he's difficult to get motivated. He certainly isn't, but he's very particular about what he likes to do. And as you can see, that when he was engaged in this, he was able to pick it up very, very quickly. I mean, those of us who do work with very young children know that they can be exceptionally quick to grasp new skills like this, especially when technology is involved nowadays. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take you through the steps that Theo and I went through to make that map that you saw at the very end there. So here's a recap for you. And if you've got any questions, you can, by all means pose them in the questions, but probably best if we maybe leave those at the very, very end. So the first step that you're going to want to do then, quite simply, is, as we did with Theo, was to use a map of your local area to find a suitable local walk. So here's just something to show you that, for example, if with my place of work, if I was to type in the postcode for the University of East Anglia, for example, so NR47TJ, and then just scrolling around and just having a little look, and here's a good little could even have a little bit of a good discussion with the children about what can they see, what do these symbols mean, and you can use the key to identify things. So of course one of the things that we need to get the youngsters practicing is identifying man-made, human or natural physical features, don't we? So especially, and maps can help us do that, and the key tool is a very, very good way of doing that. So they're practicing both their map skills of identifying things using symbols, but also identifying their human and physical features. This is obviously completely optional. I understand that not everybody has access to a printer, so you could optionally print out print out a map. This is quite simply done, so that the thing went quite quick there, so let's just wait for the loop. So you just click on the print tool up there, click on that. You can give it a title, that's absolutely optional, don't need to. You click generate print file, and then there you go. So all you need to make sure that you do is that what you see on the screen is centered on what you want printed out. You can make slight adjustments in a print dialog as well, it's fine. Now, of course, a thing that you could do instead if you don't have a printer, and of course this is something which is, I know, is part of the Key Stage 1 Key Stage 2 syllabus and the primary syllabuses, is you could have a go at sketching the area, but I think that would be for another webinar. It might give me an idea for something to do in the future, how to draw a sketch map from an Ordnance Survey map. Something I haven't done for a very long time, so I might be up for doing that. Another thing that's optional, of course, but strongly recommended, these are quite ubiquitous now, is that we all seem to have the ability to take digital photos. So this is a fantastic way to document the walk. So Theo actually has my very, very first iPhone, my iPhone 4, which is older than him. So we've just stuck it in, I wouldn't say an indestructible case, but we stuck it in a case and just gave it to Theo, and then he uses that to take photos and listen to audiobooks and stuff like that. So he took his little iPhone 4 in its pink case out, and he used them to take photos of the walk. Of course, taking photos is not the only way you can document your walk. You can take rub-ins of different surfaces. So you could put a piece of paper down. So you could put a piece of paper down just on that concrete floor and take a rub-in on concrete floor, and then do it on a path, then do it on a leaf, on a piece of bark. So any way at all you could use to document the walk, and then you can then stick them onto your sketch map, or if you do print the map out, you can then kind of make a little collage with all them too. So it doesn't have to be photographs, but that's just because I'm going to show you the photograph tool. That's the one I've done. Right, so mapping your route using a line. This is a very simple process. So underneath drawing tools, you just click on that line symbol there, and you just single click what we call waypoint. So waypoint is when you need to go around a corner or change direction, stuff like that. So you can see the yellow flash there is when for some reason my yellow flash didn't work all the time, but just speed up a bit there. Crikey, that was quick, wasn't it? Around that broad. And so every single click places a waypoint like that. And then when you want to finish the line, you just double click like that. So I'll show that just once more. So it's quite simple. You go to drawing tools on the left hand side, and that gives you most of the functions that you're going to use. You see all these options come up, and then underneath draw and create, you click on that draw line tool there, and then from where you would start, you just then single click. Now of course you could do this before you go on the walk to plan the walk itself. So you could set out the route that you want to take, and then you can see if you can go and walk along that exact route, and then you can discuss about whether you had to make any changes or what you saw along the way or something like that. Or you could plot it as me and Theo did. What we did is that we printed out the map. We kind of, Theo marked on where he thought he was on the map. And then when we got back home, we then plotted it as you saw him using that line function there. Okay, this is a fantastic tool. When I first used version 1 of Digimap for Schools all those years ago when it first came out with my students, I was, one of the things that I really struggled even with year 7s and secondary school students is getting them to use, measure distances on the map. And then when Digimap for Schools came along and you could just do it in a single click, it was very, very useful. So this is one of the most, I think this is one of the most powerful tools that Digimap for Schools can do. And that's one, if you've drawn a line, you can simply click on that measurement tool underneath Draw and Create. And when you click on it, you just get how long that line is. So it's a brilliant piece of coding that they've done here. Perfect to scale. And of course you can change the units. So actually this is quite good if you're doing mathematics as well. So you can combine, I know that a lot of primary maths can involve maps as well. We're teaching about scale. So, the conversion between kilometers and miles is you can demonstrate that using Digimap for Schools here. So, okay, so this was 4.2 kilometers, but what would that be in miles? So they can make that calculation and then see if they're right by changing the units. So there's a little bit of cross-curricular skills building there. Right, so if you took pictures, so what we do for this one, if you were to click on the add photo icon underneath Draw and Create, and then on the position where that photograph was took, you can then browse for an image that you've saved on your computer. So what the best thing to do is to get those pictures off your device and put them somewhere obvious on your computer. So what I tend to do is I tend to put them on my desktop of my computer, and I end up with all these icons on my desktop before I find them away. So, and then you can quite easily find the picture like that. Now, the one limitation I have found with Digimap for Schools, but it's not a major problem because it's easily fixable. But one limitation is that, as you can see there, that picture of Eaton Park has gone over the line. So one thing you can do is you can select the picture by using the select tool, the arrow there, and then go down underneath Modifier and then move it like this. So now you can see that when I deselect that, so if I go back onto the select tool, and then just click anywhere on the map, you can see now that that picture is now no longer overlapping the line. So what doesn't happen automatically is Digimap for Schools doesn't automatically kind of move those pictures out of the way of anything else that you've already plotted on. So you do have to do a bit of formatting, but that's not a problem. I mean, that's not an issue that's unique to Digimap for Schools. It's the case with a lot of GIS applications that you do need to do a little bit of tidying up and stuff like that. So it certainly shouldn't put you off, but in fact it's just another way of manipulating layers. So it's a really good way of demonstrating that there. So just show that once again. So find the picture, click on it. You can either double click on it or click open, and then upload, and there it is. And if you do need to move it around and whatnot, you can just simply use the select tool and then the move underneath modify. I wonder if you can, quite the rain's coming down a little bit hard now. I wonder if you can hear that bit of patter above my head. Right, so now what Theo wanted to do is that he wanted to label his pictures and his stopping points. So this is quite simply what you do is that you select the add standalone label tool underneath Draw and Create, and you just simply click where you want to put it and put it in. Now there is actually a second option here. If you want to put more detail, because you can see how those, when that plays again, you'll see how quite large that font is. They are labels, so they're meant to be quite large, they're meant to be quite bold, so they stand out quite a lot. But if you want to put a body of text, you can understand that might not be useful. So this function here is where you can actually have an annotation box, and that allows you to put at least a short sentence in rather than, because it then squishes the font. And you'll see that a bit later when I look at the more advanced things. Okay, so this is absolutely fantastic when you're trying to have students and kids to categorize things, and that's using these really friendly markers. My only grumble with Digimap for Schools, and it's very, very nitpicking because I love this tool to death, is that there isn't more options than they've got there. But I think that might be for future development where maybe you can import your own ones or have a few more options there. But they're absolutely more than enough of what we have, enough that we have there. So Pete's going to interject here.
Well, I'm just going to pull you up on something there about, so,
Yeah,
you
go
know,
on then.
so the first 1, 2, 3, all apart from the little emoticons, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can click on select, right? And then change the color of them.
Oh, yes, you can. So when you see this, if you see this scroll bar here, you scroll down.
Any other colors? So,
yep. So you can do a little bit of customization, indeed.
Yeah, they are we are limited, but we can increase that if need be if there's a demand. So Pete
understands that I'm very, very much nitpicking because you know, I wouldn't do all this. I wouldn't support Digimap for Schools with all this work if I didn't think it was worthwhile. So, so then we got. Yeah, so if you scroll this, what Pete's talking about here, this scroll bar here, if you were to scroll that down, this isn't active, this is an animation I made earlier. But if you scroll down here, you've got some more customization apps in terms of colors and whatnot just down there. So this is, as I say, this is a good way of categorization. So if you want to categorize human and physical features, and what I've just done here is just an example is that you can create a key there. So if you can use kind of tools like this, make a box, and then put a key in there, so you can make a bespoke key as well. Right. So links to primary curriculum content. So I've sorry I've missed out on Northern Ireland here. I just simply ran out of time, but I do understand that Northern Ireland have very similar curriculum contents and requirements. But just to look at here at the primary stages, so Key Stage 1 and 2 in England, First, Second in Scotland, and Foundation Key Stage 2 in Wales, that just these simple tools. So if I just go back to there, you see in the top right, just those 5 simple tools, using those in Digimap for Schools, which I've demonstrated here, can cover all these kind of curriculum requirements at primary level. So I won't go through and read every single one of these out, but you can just see for yourself that how such a wide range and diverse kind of things that you can do. So if you were to go ahead and do, I wouldn't say exactly as I've done it with Theo, but in your own kind of manner, then you will tick a lot of these requirements. And as I've put down there, especially underneath Scotland and Wales, there, you know, when they look at their primary requirements for mathematics in terms of scale and maps and plans, then it ticks those boxes also. So what I always when I do CPD with teachers at secondary level, when with the Geographical Association, one of my mantras is that never ever ever think that you should be teaching skills in substitution of content, because that used to be a thing where teachers would say, I would love to teach these skills or critical thinking or all these kind of transferable things, but I just have to get on with teaching the content. There's so much content to teach. Well, I'm of an opinion, and I'm sure many of you are as well, that they can be done in tandem, and you can use skills to teach the content. So that's of some there. So Pete, this is a good point to take maybe some questions up to this point. Should we tackle one or two of them? What do we think?
Yeah, we've only had one question from Caroline, who's said that she's having problems with the measurement tool on her tablet.
Okay.
And that's something that shouldn't be the case. We were it was working, because I know I tested it myself. We did a release last week, and maybe it's something that's crept in, but I'll go afterwards and have a look at that. But yes, folks, any questions you want to throw down in the question box, we're around here and can answer them at the moment.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. So one thing that because you see my laptop there that Theo was using, it's a touch screen as well as a laptop, and you actually flip it all the way around, and it effectively becomes a tablet. And the only issue that we had was sometimes it treated a tap as a double click. So when Theo was trying to put on the photos and he was trying to upload photos, the dialog box would flash off and on. So maybe, Pete, that's something to look into as well, and I can talk to you about that afterwards. But basically, Caroline, it should be working on tablets, and Theo prefers to tap on the screen rather than using the mouse pad, the trackpad. He finds that obviously a lot of kids do, don't they? Find that more intuitive. So well, apart from that one trying to upload photos, he had no problems himself. But as I say, it could be a Digimap for Schools issue, or it could be an issue with your system. It's hard, it's hard to establish, but I'm sure that Pete and the team will have a look into that from their end.
So that's so Sue has another issue with regard to uploading photos. So you haven't said whether it's on a tablet, a Chromebook, or if you could let us know the device it's on as well. If you ever have any problems with Digimap for Schools, folks, if you could email us in, okay, and let us know basically what the sequence of events that happened if something doesn't work, because it means we can really go and investigate what's happened. We don't tend not to have a lot of issues, and a lot of people don't. And Sue said here it's on a laptop. So I don't think there should be a problem. We've done all the testing on the laptop. I think there might be, it might just be a functional issue with using the drag and the move feature on the interface. But listen, we'll deal with that there. If you give us a shout afterwards, I can maybe ring you up and we can walk through it. But I don't think there should be a problem on a laptop doing this here. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as I say, these are all bugs which are actually quite common. I mean, I'm currently in my day job helping to develop a GIS tool, and there's all sorts of quirks no matter how much you kind of do it. So this is definitely not failing on Digimap for Schools, but of course, if users like yourself kind of highlight them to Digimap for Schools, then that's, so you see how he's using that fine. I think it was. So, and then the measurement tool, that worked fine. So yeah, it sometimes it just depends on the system as well. So, but as you can see, this just demonstrates that it should be working on tablets. So, but do give that feedback to Digimap for Schools, and they'll look into that for you. Right.
We can have one more question here that a couple of people have asked if we're able to very quickly just go over it. So Jane and Francis have asked if you're plotting a walking route and basically you make a mistake, okay?
Right.
How do you step back? And so if you're actually doing it, if I was showing you live on the service here, if you watch the screen whenever you're drawing your map, it gives you the instructions as to how to step back. So generally it's Control and Z will step you back.
There you go. There you go. Double click to stop drawing. Use Control C or Command Z if you're on a Mac. So if I made a mistake here, if I accidentally kind of like walked right through the pavilion or something, I could go oops and then go Control Z or that, or if I took a swim in the Broad, then I could take a step back. Hopefully that answers your question.
So Caroline has asked as well, parents are having a problem through using school username. Caroline, that'll be something on your end there, because if you're able to log in with this username and password, the parents have exactly the same username and password as you, so should be able to log in. So you'll need to sort of just, if you get the password off them and check, it'll be a problem with them using it. It's not something, if you're able to get them with your username and password, it should be the same for your parents and pupils.
Awesome.
Okay, we'll let you go on, Kit, and we'll go more in a bit.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Right, so and if you have any particular questions for me from a teaching or teachers, or if you're a parent at home and you want to have some advice about what can I do for my child that keeps them up to date with their schoolwork, then by all means you can get in contact with me through Geogramblings, but I'll go through that at the very end of the presentation. Right, so now moving on to probably I wouldn't say the older kids. I would say that the ones that could really go on it at the next step is, and I'm going to use an example here. So with the very same tool. So this is more of a case study, more of a story for you. You don't have to read every single bit of text on there unless you're really interested. But back in I think it was 2015 now. So we were absolutely delighted to take part in an initiative by Norfolk County Council called the Norfolk Trials, the Young Heritage Rangers. And what this was all about trying to get people out and about in their local area and exploring their local area by using the local walking paths and things like that. And I thought this was a perfect example for what we're going through right now. Obviously the weather's not so great today, But when the nice weather returns for many of us, this could be something that you could do. You could take this approach. So I'm going to take you through what I did with some of these high school students here from Framingham High School, and like how they use Digimap for Schools in the same way that Theo did, really, but to plan an expedition for their younger peers. So we had a couple of cluster schools that feed into Framingham take part in this walk, and it was led by this, and it was delightful for me because I hardly did anything. It was I was absolutely brilliant. I just made sure supervising that it was on track. I was just quality control, really. So here we go. Here we go through the steps. So the first thing first, just as Theo did, was look for a suitable place to go for a walk in a local area. So our catchment area it's a beautiful catchment area here in Norfolk. Just because we're known for being flat and full of farmland doesn't mean we don't have beautiful landscapes. And if those of you who are from Norfolk with me will know what I'm on about there. And there's a really lovely little village called Shotsam, and through Shotsam actually goes the Boudica Way. And the Boudica Way is a long distance path that stretches across Norfolk, and it runs basically starts from Diss train station all the way up to Norwich train station, and it goes through some really beautiful Norfolk countryside. And a few of our students are from Shotsam, so they were already aware of some amazing little things, some little features in their local area that they were absolutely convinced that hardly anyone knows about. Even the kids who go to Shotsam Primary, they reckon not very many of them know about this. So what they did is that they used Digimap for Schools, and they looked at where all the walking paths go. So you can see all those green dotted lines there, which indicate kind of public paths which should be open to the public. That farmers maintain the pathway through there, and there's kind of pseudo public rights of way. And then what they then did is that they, in their own time, which was absolutely lovely, is that they then took some pictures of some things that they might think other people would find interesting. So, and this is really, I never knew any of this, and I worked in this catchment area for 30 years. But there's, we have our info boards about the wildlife and stuff like that in the top left. But apparently, a V2 rocket sent over by the Nazis in World War II when it was fired over the channel, actually landed in the village of Shotsam and remained unexploded. That must have been quite scary. So right there, this V2 rocket landed, and I never knew that. But there is actually a signpost there to kind of commemorate that piece of history. And so they put things like that. So there's an old ruined, quite an amazing. By the way, this is not a tourist pitch for when we all get back on our feet. Well, if you like. There's a ruined church here, so St. Martin's Church, Remsov, and this is why using a map is very, very good, because if you never knew there was a remains of a church or remains of a priory or whatever there, well, a map can pick these kind of things up with you. So, okay, that was the first step. So they've established, so these weren't the only 4, but they established some other places that they think people would do. I thought, okay, how would we link these together using a walk, using the mapping tool? So now they've used that line tool. So they've just gone, okay, well, you can walk along there, along that green line. So they've just connected the dots, basically. And they've worked their distance out. And now the primary school teachers actually said we can't, they're going to be, I think it was I can't remember exactly now, it was either year 4 or I think it was year 4 students, that they probably keep them down to a certain level. I think it was like below 3 miles. So we got at 4.4, which I think about 2.6 miles-ish. So that was pretty perfect. So they made sure the measuring tool got them under quota there. Okay, oh yeah, so here's the annotation tool that I was talking about. So very similar to the labeling tool. This is just, instead it gives you a box where you can put a little bit more information here. Now this is the student's own risk assessment. Now for those of you who have attended, who have got older children or who work in secondary schools, you will know that actually one of the requirements for geography in particular in secondary schools is that they have to assess risk when it comes to fieldwork. And the students have to do that, of course, with the teacher's guidance. And Digimap for Schools is a fantastic way of doing this. So as you can see here, the students knew about these risks just because of their local knowledge, but by using a map, they can tell that they're going to be crossing a road here, so they've got to assess the risk there. I love this one, cows. Stay in groups, don't get close. I love the way that they've approached this. Ticks, there's a stream nearby, tell children to stay back. But anyway, you can see that these young people have undergone a risk assessment, and they've put them onto Digimap for Schools. So not only are they aware of the risk, but when they take the little ones around, they know that when that risk is likely to be highest, and therefore to go about their mitigation of risk strategies and things like that. And this actually, we couldn't submit this as the official risk assessment, but it did actually form part of the risk assessment. We attached this and said that the students have done it and are fully aware of the risks. So that's really, really good little task there to assess the risk. This is really, really fun. So then go and create some resources for other people to do, or little tasks for you to do. So they passed, like, one of the things that they saw along the way was an ancient tree, or a veteran tree it's called, a tree that's been there since, it's hundreds of years. And so they got the young kids to do a tree bark rubbing of it. All of the high school students had stamps, so every time the little ones come up to them and said, I've seen this flower, but they had an index page, they got a stamp. There were some questions here about St. Martin's Church, a colouring dinosaur just to indicate they were on some chalk bedrock, so they, about the age of the chalk there was around with the age of the dinosaurs. So you see how very simple these are, but now the youngsters are learning about the local area through their walk, through these little activities. Of course, this is completely optional, but if you're really looking for a really good thing to do with the next time you do go out for your thing, try and plan a way of getting to your local area, and you'll be surprised by what you can find out. And then do the walk, obviously. And here's some lovely pictures of the high school students taking these youngsters around. So, and this is so that's St. Martin's, the remains of St. Martin's Church. I think this is when they were doing their tree rubbing, and and then walking along one of the fields there, and that's Shotson Village there. So that's just an example of how you get the older ones to plan something. So if you're really, really stuck and you've got, I don't know, a 9-10-year-old and a 5-6-year-old, mine are 5 and 3, so mine are not quite at this level yet, but maybe the older one could see if they can plan a walk for the younger one, for instance. Okay, so in summary then, so through planning a walk in Digimap for Schools, these can help you to do these certain things, help you to discover your local area, but also a little bit of community spirit, to raise our morale, and maybe you could do it for the neighbours, produce something for the neighbours where you go for the walk yourself, you find out things along your walk, then you plot it, then you plan it, and then maybe produce a guide of the walk you've just done, and see if you can get some of the neighbours you are friendly with to go on it as well. And if you're teachers, see if maybe a task you can get for your students is to get them to plan a walk that, and wouldn't it be an amazing reward? Like if they were to plan a walk in your catchment area that was walking from the school, the best walk when everyone gets back to school and the weather's nice, the reward is you go and walk the quote unquote winning students walk. That would be morale boosting, wouldn't it? So these are just suggestions I'm throwing out there. Helps them to appreciate scale and distance, of course, which is really, really good, because now Theo knows what 2.1 kilometers feels like now. In fact, as those of you who've got children of this age, he's a sweet little thing, but he can have his moments, bless him. And there are some times when him going to school, because he always walks to school, it's a mile to school, and then initially he wasn't appreciating that distance, but now that he knows what a mile looks like on Digimap for Schools, what a kilometre looks like too, and he has that sense of appreciation of scale and a sense of achievement as well, because he now knows that he can quite easily do a looped walk of 2.1 kilometres, and actually school is not that far as that. It's just a little bit further than his walk to school, because his school is 1.6 kilometres away. So hopefully when he goes back to school, he won't put up too much resistance, bless him. Help practice planning logistics. Now, you might not use the word logistics with your youngsters, but that's effectively what they're doing. They're practicing logistical skills and planning skills, without using that technical term. Identifying risk, which is really, really handy. One of the things I've also taught in different teacher training is about safeguarding, and I'm a very, very strong believer that you can't really safeguard your students effectively unless you also teach them the skills that allows them to safeguard themselves also. So using Digimap for Schools and going for a walk and identifying risks and planning for risks is a fantastic way of building that skill for themselves. So obviously we need to, as parents and teachers, we need to maintain our safeguarding rules, absolutely. But then using a little fun thing like this, you're actually getting them to be aware of risk and getting them and helping them to safeguard themselves as well. Like when we do it all the time, don't we? Like looking before you cross the road and stuff like that. Learn what is meant by geolocation. So Theo knows now that when you put a picture on a certain point of map, he has geolocated that picture. So again, there's two technical terms there, logistics and geolocation, but as we demonstrate, it's quite possible to get a 5-year-old to understand these concepts and document your walk through pictures and labels. And the fantastic thing about Digimap for Schools, you can see it probably on other webinars or video tutorials, but you can save all this stuff in like a digital file drawer. And so it's there for posterity then. And if, as I say, if you do have a printer, print it out, you know, and you can enjoy what you've achieved there. Okay, so that is me. I hope that you found that very, very useful. So I'm quite happy now to hang back, and then me and Pete can take more of your questions. So just to remind you all that I will be typing up what I've done for my Geogramblings blog. So my Geogramblings blog is very easily found. It's just geogramblings.com there. I'm on Twitter and I'm also on Facebook. Just search for Geogramblings on those two things there. So if you subscribe to any of those platforms, then you'll get an alert to say when the blog entry for this particular webinar is up and running. You'll be able to see the videos. You'll be able to see a re-recording of this webinar. And you'll be able to, and I'll try and also do a bit of kind of like text commentary as well, which I also like to try and do in my blog. And also my blog is quite useful just for general tips and tricks regarding education as well. It is aimed towards teachers and older students, but it's more to kind of give a commentary of current affairs and how to apply geography in the classroom and how to apply geography. So I would very much appreciate you following that. And you are more than welcome to get in contact with me. My email address, just stick kit@ in front of that. So kit@geogramblings.com. And I'm very, very happy to you know, if you want to get back, if something comes to your mind in the future and you want to get in contact with me, you can do that through Facebook, Twitter, or kit@geogramblings.com. Okay, so Pete, we got any questions?
Well, folks, if there's any questions, just stick them down there. I'd say a lot of people here at the moment are currently on your website and sort of having a good nosy around, like, you know, might be distracted. But one of the things I'd like to say, first of all, is thank you so much for that, though, because that, you know, you have a completely different perspective on the teaching side of things. I'm a Digimap for Schools techie head, and basically, you know, I don't use the right terminology, like safeguarding risks assessment, identifying risk, all, you know, never heard, you know, I don't have the experience of this stuff at all. So I can show you how to sort of draw lines and measure things, but it's really good to have a boots on the ground idea of how it can be used in school, and see it tangibly done as well with Theo was brilliantly, you know. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, my problem is that so Theo's now been present on 2 things now. So there's this, and he was also the star apparently of the Geographical Association's conference Teach Me, as some people here might have seen. So I feel like I've created a rod for my own back now, because people want more Theo. But I actually spoke to him this morning over breakfast, and I said, would he be willing to do more of these kind of things? And he seems pretty keen. But I can assure everybody that he never gets forced into anything like this. I always ask him first, and if he's not up for it, he's not up for it. But if he is, he loves to get involved, and so. You may see more of him in the future if he feels up for it. And then the little and Kai, when he gets old enough to be involved, I'll ask him the same questions as well. Because if I can't give this enthusiasm and teach my own children, you know, and combine that with my teaching expertise, I don't feel I have a right to, you know, offer my opinion or advice to anybody else. So that's just my approach.
That's good. So, Kate, just in the question box here, there's just lots of really nice comments about the webinar, and sort of people sort of giving lots of ideas for people. So yeah, it's just some really nice feedback here, which is brilliant. Folks, there's a couple of people asking quite specific questions about you know, measuring lines and different things like that. Now, what I'm going to say to you is, if you have a look on the Digimap for Schools website, if you're having any specific problems with moving things around, or if parents can't get in with passwords, we run a drop-in session generally on a Monday or a Friday, and you can come along and ask a question, and we'll try and solve it with you there and then. Otherwise, you can email us in. So it's just for anything specific. I'm not going to get around to it today, but you can you can basically come along on Fridays or Mondays. We do open it up for an hour, so rather than sort of ringing up or having an email chain, we can actually do it there and then. So anything specific, come along to them. But yeah, so I'm just getting all all the thank yous coming in. I'm just trying to go through them to see if there's any specific questions.
Rosalind from Switzerland. Wow, gone continental.
Yeah, we've opened it up. It's available. So there we go, folks. It's available. It's worldwide. Previously, we were only allowed under the educational license to sort of distribute it within the UK. And now it's opened up to the world. And as we've seen, somebody from Switzerland here. And in fact, I think the last time I looked, we've 20 international schools who are using Digimap for Schools. So yeah, we're taking over. Now, we have free learning resources here, folks. And in it, now, I think it's in the homeschooling one, we have some activities here for mapping walks, doing scavenger hunts as well. There will be, in a similar vein. I think I haven't looked at them in a great amount of detail, but there's lots of activities there as well. That if you were looking for some stuff to do, homeschooling ideas, there's a section in our free resources there that you can go and use.
Yeah,
So,
and the other thing as well, I'd add to what Pete said there is that I do have plans to contribute a bit more to Digimap for Schools. So if you do have any thoughts or ideas, like say, there seems to be a gap in this for this particular aspect of what I want to teach or what I want to learn or what I want to show to my child, if you feel that it would be really, really good if somebody could put something together, or maybe direct me into where I could find something that's suitable, then by all means, give Pete and myself, drop us a message, and we'll see what we can do. Obviously we can't guarantee everything. We've only got a few hours a day, and I've still got to run after Theo and Kai myself. So, but why not ask? And if we can't stitch something together ourselves, we can probably point you in a direction where you might be able to find something.
Yeah, that's it, folks. Like as I say, I say this in most webinars. If you have any ideas or want anything covered, email us in, and we will, endeavour to do what we can to sort of help out. Because if we help out you with something, it's more than likely it's sort of going to help somebody out as well. So it's not just, it's quite good for us. And as I said before, my knowledge of the curriculum and teaching is fairly limited. I sort of deal with Digimap for Schools. I don't have the knowledge that you guys would have of sort of, being in schools and the language and the terminology and the lesson plans, etc. So yeah, we anything you contact us, we'll do our best to sort of help out.
I just want to go back to Rosalind, who's located in Switzerland. So I don't want to make assumptions, Rosalind, and please don't divulge any information that you don't want to. But I wonder if you teach in international school, or you teach in baccalaureate, that kind of stuff. Because what I'm thinking is one thing that's really, really a good idea. You say that you wish you had OS maps, absolutely. But what I would think would be very interesting would be to see if you can do like almost a virtual field trip using Digimap for Schools. So one thing you could potentially do there is to get them to investigate a place in the United Kingdom. Maybe if your students have got links back to the United Kingdom, they've got parents, family, they could choose a place and they can design a walk around a family or friend's house, and then using the geograph function. And if there's not a webinar about that, I'm sure there will be one in future. But using the geograph function to actually pull up pictures that already exist of the area, and then doing a bit of a virtual field trip. So in that respect, they can still use OS maps virtually and and remotely, even though you're located in Switzerland. And that goes for anybody really. That goes if you want to learn about another place that's not in your location. Learn, one of the things that we do have to teach our youngsters as well, isn't it, about unfamiliar places and compare our local area to a place we're not familiar with. So doing a virtual field trip is a good idea.
Well, basically, Ken, I'm just very quickly going to show them, in case people don't know what the geograph functionality is. It's this image search here in Digimap for Schools, okay? Perfect. And you can look for coastal path, for instance, or coast. You get all your images here, and you can sort of look at them. Alternatively, what you can do is you can zoom right in on top like this. Let's come out a wee bit. You can actually just type in asterisk, and it will find all the photographs in your local area. Okay, but you need to be quite zoomed in. It'll find, so you can do your virtual field trip. and look at all the images that are there. So that's just a little function that I generally don't get time to cover in most of the webinars, but it's something that's there and available to use.
Might be something I could cover in the future. We'll see.
So yeah, folks. So that's 55 minutes gone. So you know, I think that we'll kind of wrap it up. There's not a huge amount of other questions coming in. Pat's asking a specific question about measurement labels, but Pat, I'll sort of get that if you email me in, or we'll cover it on Friday with the specific stuff there. Okay. But for the time being, folks, I'm going to wrap this here up. I'm going to once again say thank you very much to Kit for that, and hopefully we get another one off Kit I think we're planning another one maybe around, is it the 7th of May or something?
I think I might be up the 7th of May. Yeah. So if you liked my style of delivery, I can't guarantee Theo will be involved, but I think it is the 7th of May. Yeah, I think it might be the next one. We haven't really decided which topic I'm doing, but we've got some time to think about that. So.
Perfect. So anyway, listen, thank you very much, Kit. Thank you very much for everybody for coming, and I log us off here, and the video and all the documentation will be available on the Digimap and Geogramblings websites. Blog.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, folks.
Okay, cheerio, everybody.